We're ready to go.
Dustin, remind me your title.
Supervising environmental planner.
So we're hot.
Right.
We are on.
And we're live.
Okay. Will we get other images on the screen of people, or is it?
Mr. Gelfand, who you see on your main screen is that's your panelists. The attendees, as Richard would do in the past, as you go to them and you call them off of your Google Docs, I will allow them to come in. And then once they're done speaking, as Donna clears them with their time, I will take them back out and just put them back into the waiting room.
Okay, so we are ready to begin.
Yes.
All right. I want to welcome everyone to a meeting of the 22nd DAA's Horsepark Committee. I'm Michael Gelfand. I'm chair of the committee. Our agenda today is going to start with some public comment, then open discussion on matters related to Horsepark. And in that context, we'll have Carlene Moore and Dustin Fuller speak to you a little bit in terms of background, and then there'll be a long period of public comments. And so I just want to begin by telling all of you that we want to hear all of your concerns and ideas for Horsepark, and there will, if possible, and there's time, we'll be able to actually provide some response to questions if we have the answers to those questions, which isn't necessarily the usual thing that happens in these kinds of meetings. But if we can respond, we will. Because of the number of people who have signed up for the meeting, we're going to limit the length of time that people speak to 2 minutes. And with that, I want to begin just with general public comment. I think there's only one person signed up for that last I saw, and that's Martha Sullivan. You want to go ahead, Martha?
Mr. Gelfand, so she is signed up for public comment, and then on the agenda item 3, that's open discussion. So you want to go to open discussion first before agenda item 2?
So as a matter of a public meeting, we first open with public comment on matters not related to the agenda. So this would be for anything not related to the Horsepark discussion. Then we'll go to our Horsepark discussion.
Okay, so Martha Sullivan, let me get her first then. So
All right, while you're working on that, I do want to introduce everyone else. We have Carlene Moore, who's the general manager of Del Mar Fairgrounds, the DAA. We have my fellow board member, Joyce Rowland, and we have Dustin Fuller, who's the supervising environmental planner for the DAA. And how are we doing with Martha? I guess they're working on it.
All right, just working out some of the finer technical details.
Well, maybe while we're waiting on the technical.
Martha's inside, so Martha *6, go ahead.
Okay.
Good afternoon. This is Martha Sullivan from Imperial Beach. And I wanted to take this opportunity during a non-agenda public comment in this board public meeting to reflect on a Sunday front page story about a year ago, just shy of a couple of days, in the San Diego Union Tribune, which recounted that revenues from horse racing at Del Mar had dropped 1/3 from 2015, through 2019, that previous year. And as you all are painfully aware, this is the reason why the fairgrounds was so woefully unprepared to weather this lengthy COVID pandemic, which has shut down so much activity. I think that this is a very timely one-year memory, because this was even before COVID hit. Horse racing has been declining for decades. In the last several years before the pandemic, horse racing had sapped the revenues of the 22nd DAA, so that you weren't prepared to weather this pandemic and have enough reserves to get yourself through it, unlike your neighbor to the north, the Orange County Fairgrounds, which had about a $50 million reserve. So I think it's opportune to point this out as you talk about
It's time, Martha.
something else that the fairground is unable to do because
Ms.
of the
Evelyn, your
lack
time
of.
is up.
Okay, at this point, we are going to have Carlene Moore give you a little background.
Thank you, Director Gelfen. And truly, on behalf of all of our panelists here, welcome to everybody that's in TV land, as we also work to navigate this type of forum and open discussion with everyone. So I'm going to start off by just giving some background information, in essence, kind of a recap of President Valdez's comments from our January board meeting that were made there. And so some of you on today's call in this meeting may have already heard most of this, if not all of it. But for those who weren't, who are now joining us for the first time, what I'm hoping to do is to provide some background for you and just kind of an understanding of just some of the issues that we are faced with here at the 22nd District Ag Association. So with that, just kind of recap, given the nature of the discussions that have been held up to this point, prior to the January board meeting, the board had to hold discussions involving Horsepark in closed session, which did not allow us at that time and throughout that process to be communicating with you, the community, in terms of those discussions. Bagley-Keene, which this board is governed by in terms of public meeting structure, requires us to maintain confidentiality of everything that is said in closed session. So throughout all of our discussions involving Horsepark, we have been advised through that process through council, as well as our engineering experts that specialize in water quality regulations. And again, just on behalf of this panel, as well as our board, we just want to thank everybody for the continued interest, as well as the professional tone in which you have spoken to us, communicated to us, and represent the equestrian community. So we really do appreciate that. So now we have the opportunity to, again, provide some more background and really at this time be able to hear from you as the community in terms of, the various interests that there are for returning equestrian activities to Horsepark, and I think ultimately, sustaining equestrian activities there. So again, I'm going to reiterate his comments. And just know that, and I think the first and foremost is that the board, the 22nd DAA board, has not made a decision to close Horsepark permanently. So for everybody who may be hearing that the first time, or information that has been passed to you, or even things you may have read, we have not made a decision to close Horsepark permanently. What we have done is taken a pause. So at the same time, the board has also not embarked on any plans to turn Horsepark into another use. We do not have plans to turn it into a homeless shelter. We don't have plans to turn it into a parking lot. We don't have plans to turn it over to a developer. So at the base of things, if you have heard this, it is simply not true. We have pressed the pause button, and so I'm going to offer you an explanation as to why, and our reasoning for being very conscientious of our terminology of we have pressed the pause button is because we have not made those decisions. So in 2015, the State Water Resources Control Board adopted a new industrial general permit that included equestrian facilities greater than 499 horses. Those are termed large CAFOs, confined animal feeding operations. Because there were more than 499 horses here at the fairgrounds main campus, the main campus is considered a large CAFO. We were sued by the San Diego Coastkeeper and SURF. Let me also state that there's been allegations that those are the entities that would be sued. As we talk about the potential of lawsuit, it's not any one particular organization and or person. It's just the risk that we have, and something we all have to be aware of in terms of Horsepark. In 2018, to resolve that lawsuit, the 22nd DAA entered into a court-supervised consent judgment with San Diego Coastkeeper and SURF, requiring the implementation of a stormwater collection and treatment system for the racetrack and fairgrounds as a large CAFO. The project cost for that was $15 million, plus costs of settlements with the plaintiffs. In May of 2019, the Regional Water Quality Control Board then adopted the conditional waiver for low-threat discharges, which required enrollment for equestrian facilities of between 150 to 499 horses, a medium CAFO. We believed that this would alleviate our obligation to comply with the industrial general permit at Horsepark, not at the main campus. We estimated the cost of the remediation necessary to comply with the conditional waiver would be approximately $3 million. So in September of 2019, the 22nd DAA submitted our notice of intent to enroll in the conditional waiver. The notice of enrollment included a commitment to cease hosting horse shows in excess of 499 horses, thereby avoiding being classified as a large CAFO. In January of 2020, just a year ago, Horsepark ceased hosting horse shows in excess of 499 horses. Some members of the public have made mention of this, that this action was taken, and I don't think they had the full understanding of the reasons for it, but it was in order to comply with the medium CAFO. In March of 2020, again, we're not even quite to a year yet, Horsepark obtained the coverage under the low threat conditional waiver, and with an agreed schedule of improvements, again, that we estimated to cost $3 million. As we all know, around that same time period, the world and our society became aware of COVID. In April of 2020, the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board notified two similar medium CAFOs in Orange County, not us for Horsepark, but in Orange County, that they're required to obtain coverage under the industrial general permit unless they can demonstrate that there are no, quote, discharge pollutants, including manure or processed wastewater, into waters of the United States through a man-made ditch, pipe, or similar device. The best estimate to address so again, this is the industrial general permit, which we believed when we submitted our application in the previous September, we would not have to perform the requirements of under the waiver as a medium CAFO. The best estimate to address the requirements of the industrial general permit in order to remain a medium facility or to demonstrate non-discharge to a water of the United States is in the range of an additional $3 to $5 million, in addition to the costs to address the requirements of the low threat waiver, for a total of $6 to $8 million. In November 11th, Equestrian Services, a similar medium CAFO in Orange County, entered into a consent decree requiring it to enroll in the industrial general permit and develop a nutrient management plan that includes a 10-year, 24-hour retention standard to address the requirements of the low threat waiver, and paid Orange County Coastkeeper $135,000 in plaintiff settlement fees. The consent decree was reviewed and approved by the district court and the Department of Justice. The Regional Water Quality Control Board did not voice any objections. In January, just earlier this year, on January 1st, approximately that time period, Rancho Sierra Vista, another similar medium CAFO in Orange County, entered into a consent decree requiring it to enroll in the industrial general permit and develop a nutrient management plan, again, that includes a 10-year, 24-hour retention standard to address the requirements of the low threat waiver and to pay settlement fees to the plaintiffs. The consent decree was reviewed and approved by the district court and the Department of Justice. The Regional Water Quality Control Board did not voice any objections. Given the similarity, we were concerned that the same action would be taken against us at Horsepark, and that if we kept horses on the facility, we would be sued and expected to comply with the industrial general permit. The regional board has given us no indication or assurances otherwise. So that's kind of the background and the history, and here's where we are currently. We have been sued before. We're aware of the costs and the exposure. We also recognize that as a state-affiliated agency, we have an obligation to be responsible and comply with all regulatory requirements. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the 22nd DA does not have the funds to implement the requirements even of the low threat waiver in a timely fashion, which increases the risk of citizen suit enforcement. Additional funds would be required to address the additional requirements of the industrial general permit based on the Regional Water Quality Control Board's current guidance to similar facilities. So the prudent solution as a state agency was to temporarily remove, and I emphasize temporarily, remove all horses from Horsepark to avoid the risk of additional citizen suit while we work to determine whether or not we are subject to the industrial general permit and the cost of compliance, and if so, the cost of compliance, we need to figure that part out in order to come up with the amount of funds that would need to be raised if we are subject to this higher obligation. In December, the board followed staff's recommendation. In terms of the boarders and trainers at Horsepark, their contracts were due to terminate at the end of the calendar year on December 31st, 2020. It was staff's recommendation, which the board supported, to provide the boarders an additional 90 days notice before those agreements terminated in order to give them ample opportunity to relocate and find new facilities. And it's my understanding that of our 3 trainers and the 38 horses that were still boarded at Horsepark, they've made those arrangements. And so we're very thankful for having had that opportunity for them. In addition to that, staff is working with the various show promoters to relocate as many of the horse shows as possible to the fairgrounds main campus while we continue to explore the opportunities, the research that needs to be done so that we can return to the board with a recommendation coming out of this committee. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Director Gelfand.
Okay. Dustin, did you want to add comments?
I don't have any in particular. If there's something you'd like me to address, I can, but no, I didn't hit it all.
All right, then we're going to go ahead and start the public comment discussion regarding Horsepark. And keep in mind that we'll be reporting back to the board on whatever we learn from today's meeting. So the first.
Director Gelfand, if I could just interrupt for a moment. One thing is, for those who weren't in attendance at our January board meeting, I thought I would just also reiterate the direction given to this committee, which was to host a public forum such as this so that we could hear from the community, take in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, so that this committee can then report back out to at the full board, which that meeting is on February 9th. At the full board meeting in order to get then further direction. So I just want to just lay we aren't making any decisions today. We are here to listen.
Yeah, and I want to mention one additional thing in terms of what you had discussed, Carlene, because I've gotten some emails from people suggesting that Coastkeeper and other organizations that have sued in the past have provided assurances that they won't sue now. While we might right now have the assurance of particular organizations or individuals that they won't sue, we don't have the assurance that some other organization or individual might sue. And that's kind of the nature of the problem. So with that, the first person on the list for public comment is Brad Jacobs. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? I don't see that I'm appearing.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. I'll be brief. I read about these articles. I read about this meeting. I wanted to be part of it just simply because one of the things that happens when people dispute issues regarding land use, and last year there was quite a heated dispute over potential other uses for show park, is that one of the avenues people use is they remove the existing use so everybody can say, well, it's empty and now we can do something else with this property. And I think that there is a perception in the community that part of what is going on here is that suddenly when the desires to use the show park property for potential other uses and begin taking away equestrian facilities, that suddenly the horse park lease was ended and now the property is open and free based on what you all were concerned about as potential litigation. And I'd ask that the board be mindful of that and assure the public that that is not something that's going on here. I did hear earlier before the meeting started, Mr. Geflin talk about getting RFPs from other people. I hope that the focus here is on returning horses to this property in a way that makes sense for everyone. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I want to assure you that that's not the case. We have not closed horse or put a pause on Horsepark because we have some other plan in mind. That is not the case. Okay, next person on the list is Rob Haskell. 2 minutes, sir.
Go ahead, Rob. You're on the queue. There you go.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we've had some conversations with you guys over the years. I wasn't really prepared to put together an organized 2 minutes here, but basically we just wanted to let you know that representing Surf Cup Sports and the surf organization across the street from you guys at Horsepark, that we do have some ideas for a complement of use to the facility that would keep intact the equestrian nature of the facility. And we'd like to be a part of those conversations moving forward. And I think this is just a formal opportunity for us to let you guys know that, where we stand as a neighbor in this situation. And, we know the horse park very well. I've personally been down at that property for 20 some odd years, 24 years. And I think the historical preservation of what has occurred in that valley is important to people. And I don't think any of us wants to see the horse park go away. I just think we also realize that there has to be some sort of a multi-use future so that it can sustain and be salvaged. And that's really all I had to say.
Thank you, sir. Next is Josephina Norlansman.
She's no longer in the queue.
Okay, Martha Sullivan, 2 minutes. Here, yeah, there you go.
Hello, this is Martha Sullivan again. It's abundantly clear that the immediate and near-term obstacle to having horses back at Horsepark is the several $1 million that would have to be spent by the 22nd DAA to do the same kind of water quality improvements there than it's done over at the main fairgrounds, primarily due to the racetrack. So as a, at least near term, solution for the people who would like for the historic use of Horsepark to continue, it seems like to me that the local and regional needs for equestrian facilities should outweigh the profit-driven needs of horse racing, which can be accommodated, very well accommodated, at 2 other racetracks in Southern California that race much longer than Del Mar does, and who have stated publicly that their stables are only at half occupancy. So I would, seriously suggest that everybody consider, until Horsepark can be restored to its historic use, that the local and regional equestrian users be shifted over to the main fairgrounds and allowed to use the stables there and the facilities there. And racing
Gentlemen, your
can
time
move
is
to
up.
Santa Anita and North Alameda.
Okay, thank you, Martha. And our next speaker is Lisa Tolliver.
She's no longer in the queue.
And then Charles Richmond.
Hello, this is Charles Richmond. I'm a native San Diegan and a resident of Del Mar for over 30 years. I have 2 horses. They aren't in Del Mar, unfortunately. And I'm also a real property lawyer of 40 years. I guess my questions are, 1, what explorations did the staff have before the quote pause unquote was made? And I don't understand why before the pause was made, that pause was not shared with the public. And also, I'm wondering if the staff had made contact with the historical people or entities or governmental entities that have previously litigated this issue to see if they could hold off until the Fair Board was able to study the issue and discuss it with the public instead of just arbitrarily closing down Horsepark. Lastly, I have to say that to close out Horsepark, I think would be the start of the elimination of horses in Del Mar, which has always been the focal point and economic driver of Del Mar. Thank you.
Thank you. Jolene Schultz.
Go ahead, Jolene, you're on. Jolene, you need to unmute. You're still muted, Jolene. Lower left corner of your screen is a microphone button. Just press on that and you should be able to speak. We can come back to her afterwards if you'd like.
Is it okay to come back to her?
Okay, let's come back to her. Bill Milligan.
Go ahead, Bill, if we see you. Bill Milligan, you're in the meeting.
We can't see you, but I don't know if you're muted or not, Bill, but check that
It's
out.
unmuted.
He is not muted. I just don't think he's speaking. Bill?
All right, let's come back to Bill. Julie Steele.
Julie is not on the queue.
Okay, Dale Harvey.
Give me 1 second.
We're working on it, Dale.
While we're working to bring Dale in, if I could just speak to and address, to clarify any confusion when we talk about the potential of, again, issuing an RFP or something. Some may not realize that historically, the 22nd DA has been the operator of Horsepark, managing and operating it. And one potential outcome in all of this, one of, potentially many in terms of restoring, equestrian activity at Horsepark, would be an operator leasing the site for us. So when it has been mentioned or is being discussed, that's how we would go about being able to explore and listen to and receive those proposals and or presentations. So I just wanted to clarify that for the audience.
Okay, Dale, go ahead.
Okay, good to see all you guys, and good to hear the Del Mar production guys again. A couple of things. I wanted to start by telling you that your pre-meeting was live, so just so you know that for the future. And I just wanted to say, I can't imagine that there's anybody on this call from the community that is not in 100% support of this venue continuing as an equestrian facility. And it's just really frustrating that we're here seemingly to be talking about this and dealing with these issues after the fact, and so we're, right down to the wire where we're afraid of a lawsuit and dealing with all of the water management issues, in a time that we're going to see the place closed. So, I would just say that I've submitted several proposals. I didn't get to hear what Carlene just said about the RFP and that process, but I would hope that, that we could get to that. I just want to say that timing is everything. As we go through this process and the place closes down and the horses leave, the first caller in the meeting, I think his point is well taken, that once the place is empty, the future looks bleak. So, I would just say, the quicker that we can get this rolling, the better. And I do have a question about the permit, the waiver that was signed that goes from July to July of 20 to 21, and what that's all about. And, first of all, why was that even put in place if we're not going to have equestrian events there? And if you can share any information about that. And that's it for me.
Okay. Joseph Coleman.
Stand by. He is not on the queue.
Okay, Sam Perlow.
Sam, go ahead and unmute. You're in the meeting. Sam, you need to unmute.
And while Sam's unmuting, just to let all of you know, since some people have dropped off the queue, if we have time toward the end of the meeting to come back and respond to some of the questions that have been asked, we'll try to do so. Sam, can you unmute? Or can we unmute him?
I sent the request through Zoom to unmute, so still no response.
All right, let's come back to Sam. and move on to Trish Quirk.
No longer in the queue.
Okay, Kathy Hobstetter. There we go.
Unmute, it said. Now, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, so I'll start. I'll try and keep this short. I've been involved in this community since the 60s. A couple of you guys I've talked to on the phone. Want to start off by saying thank you to, I'm going to say it wrong, John Kiernaz, is that how you say it? Kiraz?
Kiros.
How do you say it? Kiros, that's it. Fairs and Exposition, Sacramento, Michael Fransconi, ag supervisor up there, here, and Karen Ross's office, also down here, Richard Valdez office, Michael Gelfand, and the 22nd DAA staff. So after all those calls and all those communications and some of the things that we had and some requests that were made at me, I started a survey. It's on ijumpsports.com and it has to do only with this. And it was to all California people, mostly horse people. And I got to tell you, the results are fantastic for horses, but also interesting was the response from the community. There were 800,000 sent. I got about 800 responses, of which probably 300 were not horse people. 10 more days, I'll compile the results and send it to you guys. But the interesting thing, the results included opinions, suggestions, insights. But the main thing is a joint desire for this facility to remain horse shows, but from the community, not just shows. The community wants a little bit more involvement. When that place was built, it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Now it's development all the way back up through to the east. It's development. There's houses down through Del Mar Heights. Those weren't there when that facility started. And so those people are pretty adamant that they also want the horse park to serve the community. And that has been an interesting thing. Probably the main feedback, and then I'll be done on my time, is this group would like a private foundation to be established to handle it and become self-sufficient, take care of the facility and not be in this situation. Again, that's the main thing. I know I'm at my time, so I'm trying to give you the survey. Anybody?
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, Ollie.
Trish Kirk is back in the queue if you'd like to go back up to her.
Oh, okay, good. Trish Quirk.
If you want to go with Ali first, that's fine. But
Well, we've got you, Trish, so go ahead.
okay. Yes, I'm a professional horseman in this area for 40 years, and Show Park has been an important part of what I do. In fact, my husband and I were influential in getting it built originally as a private facility when that privately owned, when that was bare floodplain land. Now this pause, the interruption of competition at the Del Mar Horse Park has already cost us important events. Several national championships that have always been held here are now moved to Los Angeles for 2021. That is a huge loss of income and goodwill and national exposure for our beautiful facility and area. It will take very quick action to try to get them back for 2022. The loss of these important events is a significant disservice to the many owners, riders, trainers, breeders, grooms, vendors, horse show staff, and enthusiastic spectators in this area. Hotels and restaurants and retail stores will feel the severe negative impact. The financial loss to the area cannot be ignored. As a result of the insecurity of the Del Mar Horse Park, several top horsemen, including riders, trainers, judges, and show managers, have already sold their homes in this area and moved to Florida because of the exciting growth of enthusiasm and facilities there. They lived here largely because of the great horse community in this area. Now they are gone. They're not coming back. There are plans that have been offered
Ms. Crook, your time is up.
Okay, thank you, Trish. And I just want to let anybody know who we called on and you weren't available. We will come back and try you again at the end of the queue. Ali, no Forshan.
Stand by for Ollie.
Hi,
There you go,
everybody.
Ollie.
Hi, guys. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak. And I know this is a really difficult time for all of you guys, so we appreciate that. I really have nothing more than what I said, the last time I was here. I think I have a proposal that could be a wonderful addition to our community. This is the demographic that we want in the area. I'm a resident. My wife and I live in Rancho Santa Fe. It's a horse community. We depend on Horsepark. I took my first riding lessons there. I'm available if you guys want to sit down and go through the proposal. But what I propose would be a multi-use, and it would bring the whole community together. It would work closely with the environmental groups. As I think every one of us horse people are environmentalists. We all love to be outdoors. We love the clean ocean. So I'm available to sit down and go through this in depth. And I thank you guys. I know this is a really tough time for you, and thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Ali. All right, Brian, is it Enge?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Rob Haskell and I work together with Surf Cup Sports, so I don't really have much to add other than what Rob suggested, other than to listen. I mean, our hope is to listen and understand. We think we've done a really good job at Surf of serving the community, serving youth, and helping drive economic impact. And we do think there's a great opportunity to respect the historical use of this property while still looking at opportunities to support the community and drive real revenue for the state and for the property. And I think our goal is just to be part of the conversation, because we do have the knowledge and the resources and the assets to really be a help for what is developed next or the use of that property.
All right, thank you. And next we have Sandy Arledge.
Sandy is no longer in the queue.
Lisa Nicholson.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lisa, first 50 member for the 22nd Ag. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
So one thing I just wanted to cover base with everybody. We know that Horsepark has been around obviously for a really long time. We love the facility. One thing that's extremely important to all horse owners is that we have a place to go during fires and evacs. I did talk briefly with Miss Billberg about that previous to all of this happening. And she said that Horsepark would still be available if we have to do an evac and we can't open the gates at Del Mar. So if you guys could touch on that a little bit, because that's really important also for our community. It's always been where people go during evacs again when Del Mar proper can't open. So that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I Carlene can comment on that, but I'm sure it's still open for emergencies.
Yes, just to clarify that one, throughout this, Horsepark remains open, active, and available should it be needed in the event of evacuations or any other type of community and public emergency. And we have communicated that to the county.
Okay. Next is Colleen.
Colleen is no longer on the queue.
Then Nancy Reed.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Nancy Reed, and I am a resident of Elfin Forest and a longtime horse owner and rider. I also am part of the first 50 and have evacuated on several occasions to Del Mar because Horsepark was already full. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for promising to keep Horsepark open for evacs. We have more horses per capita in San Diego County than any other place in the nation. And that, I think, I don't know if you guys know that or not, but you really do need to understand that. And I also, I really don't want to say it, but it doesn't appear to me that you guys have been all that transparent with what your decision-making process has been. And I would hope that because of these meetings and because of what people are saying, that the transparency will become better. And I really appreciate your time. And I know we can work this out and keep Horsepark open. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Glickman.
She's not in the queue any longer.
Jennifer Bishop.
Same with Jennifer.
Cynthia Kelly.
Same with Cynthia.
Laura DeMarco.
Go ahead, Laura.
Hi, this is Laura. Carla Hayes put together a 7-page presentation that I sent to all of you via email. I'm sorry that no one can see it on Zoom right now, but what it does is it goes through and itemizes the 15 years worth and millions of investment that you've already made in water remediation. And that's the reason why, unlike what Mr. Rosenbaum was saying, Horsepark is not comparable directly to those 2 Orange County facilities that were sued and ended up having to pay not just a couple $100,000, but millions in litigation fees and costs. Because the sewers are connected directly to the wash racks, unlike in San Juan Capistrano and the other places. In addition to that, we've had private conversations, some of which have made its way into the public domain with Coastkeeper, CERF, as well as Surfrider. None of them intend to sue you. And you have done a good job at the fairgrounds as noted, but the problem is the fairgrounds is not appropriate for horse shows, most of which cannot be moved from Horsepark to the fairgrounds. The other thing is I wanted to make it very clear that the Friends of Del Mar Horsepark are not in the bidding process. We want to facilitate the opening of reopening of Horsepark. We are not a competitive bidder, nor do we, and we never want to be in that situation, Carlene. So what we want, our objective is to help you be good environmental stewards and financial stewards and keep the equestrian activity back at Horsepark. As Charles Richmond was talking about, Del Mar is inexorably linked with horses, both horse shows, stabling, with the public riding school. We're the only
Mother,
city
your
that
time
has
is
a
up.
horse on our
Okay, unfortunately, we've exceeded your 2 minutes. Thank you, Laura. And then we move on to Cindy Mishkin.
Hi, good afternoon. So I'm a parent of a rider, newer to the equestrian community than many of these speakers. However, I have been to a lot of the facilities in the county, and there are very few the size of Horsepark. Horsepark and Del Mar really are it in this area, where a large community of horse equestrians can gather. And so keeping this land use would be very important to the community. And to Ms. Rowland's concern that other stakeholders be notified, this is a public meeting. It's got public notice. It's on the website so everyone can see it. There's been incredible press about the potential problems with Horsepark in the UT, in the Rancho Santa Fe paper, on NBC, in the Del Mar Times. So the community has been notified. I wouldn't be concerned that if someone wants to talk to this committee and to the greater board, they would attend the meetings, which are public, and ask to do so. So I don't think there's a problem of notice that the community doesn't know what's going on. We do. And the bottom line is that the equestrian community is very interested in this facility because there are so few of such facilities in this area. So I would encourage you to maintain the equestrian use of this facility and the use that it was built for, and should be continued. Thank you.
Thank you. Carla Eccles Hayes.
Go ahead, Carla.
You are muted. Carla, you have to unmute.
Carla, go ahead and unmute, lower left side of your screen, little microphone. Or dial *6 if you're calling in, *6. We can come back to her if you want to.
Okay, we'll come back to Carla. Next is Robin Crabtree.
All right, Robin.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'd just like to reiterate the importance of Horsepark as an agricultural setting and a horse facility where people can learn to ride and take care of horses. My youngest daughter started at Mark Connolly's public riding school when she was about 7. She learned how to ride horses, but more importantly, she learned how to take care of them and the love and what they needed. I don't know if any of you are aware, but a public riding school has school horses that they can learn how to ride on and take care of. And most of the facilities in San Diego County, you must own your own horse. So the public riding school is a very special school, and that if you have an interest or maybe you don't have the money to afford a horse, which very expensive, that gives them the opportunity to learn how to care. Riding the horse is just a very small piece of the whole experience, and they learn how to care, feed, groom, bathe, the whole thing. I just wanted to also share that my very first horse show I started riding at 50. My very first horse show was at Horsepark a year and a half ago. And it was a wonderful experience, and I hope it can happen again. I'm also a family nurse practitioner, and during these pandemic COVID times, the therapy that my horse has given me to care for others is irreplaceable. And it's helped me to stay focused, keep my stress down, and to help others as much as I can. And I just wish my patients could utilize a public riding school to help them during pandemic stress. The other thing is horse shows and the public riding schools are pandemic resistant revenue. They bring in, I don't know, the riding school maybe doesn't bring in, but the horse shows bring in a lot of money. So I'd hope that we can get the public riding school back on site. I'd like to see us reopen for the horse shows as soon as we can, and then that would be revenue for the DAA.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Lizette Williams.
Sarah Fisher. Oh, cute. Picture.
All right, Lizette, looks like, oh, now you're muted. Go ahead and unmute.
There you go.
I think we missed one.
I've got a hat just like that. You know. Lizette, we can hear you, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lizette, you're unmuted.
Lizette, we should be able to hear you.
Yep, I'm not seeing any movement from her microphone. Hey, and also, Michael, next, go ahead and call Sarah Fisher. I X'd her by accident.
Wondered about that. Okay, Lizette, we'll come back to you. Sarah Fisher.
All right, Sarah Fisher, you're in. Go ahead and unmute, lower left corner of your screen. Sarah Fisher, go ahead and unmute. Oh,
Can
there
you
you
hear me?
are.
Yeah,
Yep,
we can
there
hear
you
you.
go.
It's weird, the screen's not operating. Several people have mentioned that horse shows will not work at the fairgrounds, and I wanted to give you a little explanation behind that. I'm a dressage rider, but I've also know a number of people that are jumping riders or Western riders. The amount of space, the footing, there's some differences that are needed that are available to us at Show Park that are not available to us at the fairgrounds. Most of the top riders that are here in San Diego have gone to Wellington, Florida already this year because they can't compete here. There's no place in Southern California that will hold a top level, Olympic level kind of show. These people are trying to get qualified for the Olympics. And I think the opportunity with the Olympics coming to Southern California in the short term, there's a huge opportunity to create the horse park to be functional more like Wellington, which would bring in tremendous revenue. And they have more riders and more revenue. So just want to share those perspectives.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. That's helpful. Are we gonna try?
Lizette, I think Lizette would be next.
At this point, or was that Williams?
We could try Lizette again if you want. Let's see.
Well, let's move on to Liz Jacobelli.
She is no longer in the queue.
Okay, Duncan McIntosh.
All right, Duncan, you're in the room and you're good.
Hello, everybody. And thank you for offering us this forum and this opportunity to discuss and understand more about what's going on. I have been a student of this challenge up in Orange County, and I was an advisor to Equestrian Services as they went through their process. I want to correct a little bit of misunderstanding that there was one very expensive resolution up there because they fought it. Generally speaking, there's some legal fees that accompany an enforcement action, but it's really about the remediation. That's the cost. And I've had some conversations or some interaction with Ian Adam and with several of his colleagues on similar situations and properties and how they're resolving it. And the point that is glaring for me is that you guys seem to be stuck on the worst case scenario of costs. And I wonder, are you investigating the actual and getting estimates for how these could be resolved? Because I have, and including talking to Ian, who recommended that you listen to those kind of suggestions and see whether that could come through for maybe 25% of what your costs that are getting thrown around right now. And if that were true, and given the experience that I've had, you could pretty safely reverse your decision to close and continue operations in the meantime. And that's something that I would like to discuss with you, but obviously 2 minutes is not enough time to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. and then Adrian Karazis.
Adrian is no longer in the queue.
All right, Stephanie Harrison.
Same with Stephanie.
Harrison.
No Stephanie in the queue. Next would be Corey, and he is coming in right now.
Corey, how?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, committee. I just want to express my thanks to the committee and also to the board for allowing this forum. And I think this open line of communication is great. And I'd like to see some continuing workshops in the future. I think this knowledge, helps to set people free. And I think hearing and communicating with the public will avoid any kind of future recourse, legal recourse anyway. So one thing I wanted to do is just reiterate the mission statement, which I was pleased to read. And that is about Horsepark and the fairgrounds is to manage and promote a world-class multi-use public assembly facility with an emphasis on agricultural, education, entertainment, recreation, in a fiscally sound, environmentally conscious manner. And it's for the benefit of all. So I believe that the board, although acting in good faith, prematurely, temporarily closed the facility, but I understand to be fiscally sound and environmentally conscious, which follows the mission statement. I'd like to see maybe some water compliance issues being addressed more publicly and maybe some preliminary studies. I'm not so sure the 11-point process spending $3 million is really absolutely necessary at this point, but maybe some initial assessment of the actual water situation. I would also like to see the board consider reopening Show Park and maybe staying, forgive my friend, under the radar as far as this CAFO situation. If I understand correctly, 150 horses to 190 horses could be boarded, maybe without so much compliance. And I think we estimated the last time that would generate about $1 million of revenue or income per year to that facility. That would help to go a long way towards that water testing. So A, I'd like to see preliminary water testing. B, I'd like to see the reopening with limited boarding of a horse and maybe some schooling, maybe the polo school and some other
your time is up.
And boarding. So thank you very
All right, thank you, Corey. And we'll probably have a little time at the end and might be able to come back and respond to some of your questions. Christina Robinson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for listening. And I'm a retired CEQA analyst and equestrian enthusiast, a long time in the area. You've heard many people refer to the facility as Show Park. Well, that's because it used to be Show Park, now it's Horsepark. And when the Ag District acquired Show Park, they completed what's called a Cat X. And the reason they were able to complete a Cat X instead of going through a full CEQA EIR was that they put right in the project description, continued use as an equestrian facility. Any change to that, any pause, any stop would be a change in use and also subject to legal lawsuit, cease and desist orders. So I would, as a CEQA analyst, strongly recommend that you consider alternatives to that. That could be a smaller footprint, something that the previous person brought up. And also, please keep in mind that as horses are continually squeezed out and further east, we have nothing other than Show Park for a show facility that is in a coastal climate that is really a pleasure to go to in the summer months. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Evangeline Gonzalez.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you so much for the time. I just wanted to speak on behalf, I'm a mother and I have 2 children and we all ride at Horsepark. And with the change in this pause that was not communicated, and where the trainer, the Conley school, the Concord school is moving to, it's actually too far for us to actually go as a family to ride together. So it's been really, really disappointing. And, you know, some of the benefits that my children were getting, and I myself was getting over time, was a lot of character development. The kids started doing much better in school because they focused and had perseverance, their confidence, you know, just riding a, 1,200-pound animal was really, really important to them. And, you know, they were taking a lot more leadership and accountability for themselves, as well as how they work with school and their friends. So it's very disappointing. We're hoping that there can be some type of remediation or some way for us to get access that's a lot closer to us with the horses that they're riding, etc. Really value the transparency, and I hope it continues to go forward, but it'd be great to understand a time frame, understand what's happening with the remediation with the water, so we can get this going again, and, you know, they can start, you know, going back to what we were doing before COVID and everything else. So thank you for your time, and hopefully this can be worked out soon and it's not shut down, and, you know, people move in, and homeless people move in. I don't know how the facility will even be maintained if people aren't even there, because it's quite large. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Sarah Nastri.
Sarah is no longer in the queue.
Shannon Mendez. Just unmute, Shannon.
Shannon, you're in the meeting.
Shannon, we see your name.
Shannon, lower left corner of your computer screen, there's a microphone, and just click on it to unmute.
Or maybe even try pressing your space bar.
There are 3 others also that had some issues with muting. If you want to, we'll put her on hold and go through those other ones and come back to her.
Okay, and should we go back up to the
So
top?
the first one, Milligan.
Bill Milligan. Just unmute if you can. There you go.
So close.
Bill, it looks like we can hear you, but I can't hear you.
Bill, your microphone has been unmuted. We still cannot hear you, though.
Bill, it appears that there's some kind of microphone problem on your end. Let's move to Sam Perlow.
Sam has left the queue.
Oh. Was there Jolene Schultz?
And then we're
Lizette would be the next one.
got Lizette Williams.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you.
All right, perfect. My microphone was not working before. Thank you for your time. Having a public space such as Horsepark is important to the community because it allows everyday people who don't necessarily have direct access to animals, direct access to horses, whether as spectators at a horse show or the availability to take riding lessons or even just tour a facility. This is more and more important as agricultural space is pushed out of our coastal communities, and it allows, you know, people such as myself. I'm an African-American woman who, as a child, did not ever think that I'd be able to ride horses, and here I am 25 years later, an avid equestrian. By taking Horsepark out of a more urban environment that San Diego is compared to like rural Idaho, you're taking that chance away from children and any other adult that would not have the opportunity. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Lizette. And then we're back to Shannon Mendez. Hey.
Hi there. I made it. Thank you. I got
There you
timed
go.
out. I had to log back in. So I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my husband Topo Mendez. We're both the trainers for Manolo Polo School, which is the legacy polo business in North County, San Diego, after we were removed from the San Diego Polo Fields by Surf Soccer. So as you're aware, there's a long history of equestrian sports in Del Mar, which includes polo. As a follow-up to my comments in the previous call, we want to remain at Horsepark and secure long-term tenancy. We have plans to build out a robust arena program that includes interscholastic and intercollegiate teams and a work to ride program. So as we've heard from the absolute legends from the international hunter jumper and dressage communities that are based in North County, San Diego, polo is another group that has a vested interest in remaining open. We have the backing of the United States Polo Association, and ironically, the interscholastic and intercollegiate tournament polo is hosted during the months of January and February and finishes in early March, which is the off season for the hunter jumper and dressage shows in Del Mar. So I want to make sure I highlight that. I also want to echo Ali's comments that we're also dedicated to clean water, environmental protection, and we want to make sure that we keep outdoor equestrian sports really close to home. A large part of our business is really kids riding lessons, kids polo, families come by, and there's really something to it. I know that's been echoed on the call quite a bit, but there really is something to that, empowering kids. They have to have responsibility, speak to adults, all of that sort of stuff. And so we're really interested in pursuing this in a long term. So it's not something that we are taking lightly. We would love to be responsible for committing a certain dollar amount or whatever needs to be done. We want to be involved in that. So I'm done, but one thing I wanted to mention before I'm cut off is that when I did time out, I had to click all the way out of Zoom and come all the way back on. So unfortunately, if anybody else's computer is timed out, you might have to literally close everything and log back in.
Shannon, hold on a second, because I
Yes.
got a question for you.
Sure.
Is polo still available or to happen at the Surf Cup area where it used to be, or
It's
on a more
not.
limited basis, or what?
Hi, Michael. No, at this point, they have remained, or they've decided to make it just soccer. We were allowed use of the backfield, which was field 5, which sort of is, I guess, adjacent to Morgan Run Golf Course.
Yeah.
We had an arena back there. And so we were really interested in maintaining on field 5, but soccer got kind of big. And so I guess, I can't really speak to the formalities of what went on behind the scenes with some of the, higher ups in the polo. They had a kind of a board. And so in any case, it was a long kind of lengthy battle. I would love to talk with you about it further, but in essence, we were subleasing from them and they terminated our lease. So we were so thankful to go back to Horsepark, where polo had been when I was a kid in the 80s. So it was kind of fun to go back there.
But there's no room for polo at Horsepark itself, is there?
So there is. We play in the arena. So arena polo is actually a really, really up and coming component. As you can imagine, to maintain grass fields, it's pretty expensive, and especially in an urban situation, it's almost impossible to have fields. So arena polo, ironically, has become kind of the it thing as far as the United States Polo Association is concerned. So places like Arizona, where water is a little bit of a premium, things like that. So in any case, we are really dedicated to an arena program. And Tom Goodspeed, who was the polo manager at Show Park back in the 80s, is still maintaining polo arena championships out of Texas. So it hasn't gone away. It's just kind of changed shape.
All right, thank you. That's
Thanks.
very helpful. All right, the only person I think left on the list who we haven't spoken to is Bill Milligan.
Or Carla?
Yeah, Carla Ecclehase has not been.
Pardon me?
Carla is also waiting.
Carla Echo Hayes?
We got to Carla, I thought.
No. She
Yeah.
didn't answer.
Yeah, we did talk to Carla.
And I don't.
Or maybe we didn't. Maybe we.
No, she couldn't
she
unmute
didn't.
or something.
I called on her, but I guess she wasn't able to get through.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with Bill Milligan if he's here.
Stand by. Bill is no longer in there, so give me 1 second to.
So it looks like we're
Carla, you're in the meeting?
Carla, if you can unmute, Carla.
I think she's the 925 number.
I have them both in there.
Okay, great.
Star
So
six.
then Carla, you would hit *6.
Carla, you are in the meeting under your cell phone, and it looks like you also logged in under your email. We are just waiting for you to unmute. Seems like she's having technical issues from her side.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do we have anyone else that we haven't reached?
We have covered everyone on our list.
Okay. All right. There were a couple of questions. I don't know if Charles Richmond is still in the system. I don't actually see him. Dale
Who are you looking for?
Yeah, Dale Harvey is still on the queue. Dale had asked something about, this is maybe for you, Dustin, had asked something about the timing of the waiver, and I don't remember exactly what the question was. Maybe he's there and he can ask it again. Dale?
I took notes, or we'll let Dale ask it.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember what his question was, Dustin, but
Dale, you're in the meeting. If you'd like to unmute and re-ask your question.
there's something about timing related to the waiver.
Yeah, I took it down as what was the waiver all about, and why did we go ahead and do it? And
Okay, well, why don't you go ahead, Dustin?
So we applied for the waiver, and we indicated a timeline in which we would complete the waiver that included any required environmental review, CEQA, notice of exemption, something like that. Included time for coastal permitting, and then it also included time for our engineers to develop detailed plans for which we would base the cost off of. That was all agreed to. When COVID hit, we were unable to pay the fees to have those plans done. So the reason the waiver has not moved forward is we just don't have the funds to complete the analysis and then complete the improvements associated with the waiver.
This is Carlene. If I can just add into that, because I think part of Dale's question was also why we, in essence, why we had entered into it. And I just want, because it was our intention to move forward with, again, what we had estimated as a $3 million project. Going back to 2019, which is when that was applied for. It wasn't received until 2020, but it was actually applied for in 2019. But it's because it really was our intention to make these improvements at Horsepark.
All right, and then Duncan McIntosh asked if we had considered ways of mitigating those costs, and mentioned that he had spoken to Ian Adams from Fusco Engineering. And I've spoken to him also, and we're looking at everything we can. I think some of the ideas that Ian had recently, unfortunately, won't really work because it would, we don't have to limit activities to a portion of the property, but we're looking at everything we can. With that, we've essentially gone through the list of everyone who wanted to speak. I just want to say a couple of things in closing. First of all, it really is our desire to reopen Horsepark if we possibly can. I want to assure you that the board members are operating in good faith. We're trying to be as transparent as we can. And, these are difficult times. So I appreciate all of your input. And we will get back to you as this process unfolds and we keep working on it. So with that, unless Joyce or Carlene or Dustin, any of you have anything you want to add?
I just think it's helpful to hear everyone's input, and there's obviously, as we talked about before, a lot of passion around this. And I'm hopeful that, you know, we'll reach a resolution that will bring Horsepark back bigger and better, if you will.
And I just wanted to say that many of you may have seen me looking away as I'm taking notes and making sure I get everybody's comments down and take everything into consideration.
And then also, I just thank you to everybody who has who's following this very closely. You know, has joined us, whether it's at the January board meeting now, and just encourage everyone that our next meeting and report out of this committee will be at our board meeting on February 9th. That meeting starts at 1:30 in the afternoon. And so just to stay tuned for more information, and we will be in touch, as Michael said, as we move forward through this process. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Talk to you soon.